Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show. I can't even say it. Presented by our sponsor, Yahoo. I'm sure they appreciated that intro. I will get better as we go. I'm Eric Lindquist. Very excited for the first time to be talking a little NBA action on a Sunday with all you fine folks, but specifically the first time ever talking some NBA action with Mr. LaMarca over there, Matthew LaMarca. Just put him on the list of all the Matts, but I think this might be the best Matt we've hired yet. I'm pretty excited about it. I saw the show that he did with Greg Ehrenberg the other day. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. But Mr. Matt LaMarca, how you doing, my dude?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Not the best week for my actual football team. New York Jets got 54 put on them by the Patriots, but took a couple bets home. The Bengals coming through for the kids. So we're doing okay. How about we'll leave it at that.
Okay, doing okay on an NFL Sunday is better than getting bludgeoned. So yeah. I will say nobody's gotten bludgeoned. We all seem like we're kind of put together here. Foster Moreau, foster the people. Let's go, my guy. Trying to take me to glory. Mike Evans hates me, though. But anyway, you know what doesn't suck and doesn't hate me is all of you fine folks in the chat. If you just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo is going live. We've got a beautiful 5-gamer. And right off the bat, we've had a lot of key news kind of hit the wire here. I'll kind of set the table. 2 major pieces. We lost Jaylen Brown. He's out. Knee issue. Sounds great. Jason Tatum, that'll be an exciting talking point. But specifically, Joel Embiid is questionable. And knowing the 76ers and Doc Rivers over the course of last season, they're a disaster to try to figure out exactly when this news is going to break. I have no idea. Nobody has any idea. But I know it's the most pivotal decision we're probably going to be making between now and lock. Do you agree with that, LaMarca? And what kind of steps are you taking to account for it?
Yeah, I mean, 100% it's the most important decision. If you look at some of our at the boom bust probability tool, right, we have Embiid as a massive leverage play. Like he's showing up in the optimal at one of the highest rates on DraftKings and FanDuel, but he's not expected to catch a ton of ownership because of this injury news. So how to approach him is going to be massive on this slate. I want him if he's active. I'm definitely building 2 sets of lineups. Gonna have one ready to go if he's in there, and one ready to go if he's out. But if he's playing, I'm gonna be overweight on the field, no doubt about it. He's too good, right? We know like he gets the usage bump without Ben Simmons, or at least he did last year. His minutes are down to start the year, but I don't care. His ceiling is too high on a slate without a ton of like true superstars.
With Ben Simmons off the floor last season, 1.81 DraftKings points per minute. We need to be interested in stuff like that. It seems like a good idea. So I'm definitely there with you, where if Joel Embiid is in, I want a ton of him. Now let's play devil's advocate, or not even devil's advocate. Let's kind of adjust accordingly for the problem, which would be Joel Embiid getting ruled out 5 minutes before lock. I already have a crunch set up in the event that it happens. I have guys that I'm interested in. I'm curious who from the 76ers side you would be bumping up the most, other than everybody on the roster, but who would be the main beneficiaries if Joel Embiid gets ruled out?
Yeah, I mean, Tobias, right? Tobias is going to catch a ton of ownership to begin with, but he kind of becomes a little bit of a more interesting play with Embiid out. He might go from being like borderline bad chalk to good chalk. Because he would just be asked to do everything. Tyrese Maxey is somebody who's already kind of looking like a strong play in our models. I think he becomes better. And then you can start thinking about some of these punt plays, maybe like a Paul Reed at the absolute minimum on DraftKings. Maybe he gets some minutes, because Andre Drummond not expected to play either. So the 76ers are kind of devoid of big men at the moment. So I think that's kind of how I would be approaching it. Sprinkle in some Seth Curry and stuff like that. But I would kind of be focused around Tobias, Maxey, and Reed.
Yep. Tobias, Maxey, Reed. And then I'm an Iowa State homer who would have George Niang, but I have to. It's a requirement. It's in my contract. Sure. It's not in my contract, but I absolutely love this man going back to his college days. So I must fire up copious amounts of him, no doubt about it. But of course, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, those 2 cats specifically just become outrageously good plays. Also, why does Bryan Edwards have to exist and catch touchdown passes? Whatever. We're going away from NFL. We are talking NBA. We go position by position here to kind of get things going. I'm excited. Are you ready to get going, my dude?
Let's go.
All right. We're starting with the point guard position. And for all intents and purposes, I understand that it's positionless basketball, but I'm going to just, we have guys who are true point guards. And I would say on DraftKings, there's more of them than normal. Steph Curry, De'Aaron Fox, Russell Westbrook, all of them sitting there on that top end. Ja Morant, of course, all only point guard eligible. So a little bit more true positions on this slate. Talk to me about the top end of point guard and what you're kind of planning on doing.
Yeah, I think clearly Curry is in sort of his own tier at the position. You look at our projections, we have him for about 10 more fantasy points than any other point guard on this slate. That seems about right. Westbrook, like he has had some question marks on his fit with the Lakers. Terrible first game, like just dreadful first game of the year. A little bit better in game 2 to the point where he might actually be an interesting, like contrarian option. We know that the guy has upside and it seems like the fit is becoming maybe a smidge better. I don't know. That Lakers situation is going to be weird all year, but we know Westbrook can score fantasy points. So I'm kind of focusing when we're talking strictly up at the top. I like the 2 most expensive guys. I don't think that's a hot take, but that's, I think, where I'm paying up at point guard for.
You're just solidifying so many raw points. And if you get Embiid out, I'm going to probably have 100% Steph Curry. I don't care. I think on DK, there's not enough of these dudes on the top end. He projects out amongst all the point guards here on the top end, 10 points better than anybody else over on FanDuel. Over on DK, looking at it as well, 13 points better than the next guy. De'Aaron Fox actually 12 points there. I mean, that's just such a ridiculous gap. I think even Steph Curry's floor in this spot, 45-50, could be viable to sneak into an optimal in the event you get a ton of pieces of value. So it's really going to come down to how that news ends up breaking, because obviously Joel Embiid's another roster spot on the top end that I would want to be utilizing and definitely won't be jamming Steph Curry at 11K in that event, but otherwise just way too good of a play. Making our way downtown, walking fast, faces passing, I'm homebound in the, the lovely words of whatever, you know what I'm getting at. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know what to do because I am absolutely obsessed with him. I love people in the chat right off the bat. 2 games. Let's overreact and call him trash. I love it. 6,800 is a dumb price tag for him. That's why you're seeing 30% ownership. I think I have to have a ton of interest in him at that number. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I'm a little bit put off by what I'm seeing in the boom bust tool, right? We have him as a pretty negatively leveraged play on DraftKings. Things are a little bit better on the FanDuel side, I believe. But yeah, like he's going to command the usage, right? We know the usage is there. He had a 31% usage rate in his last game. The team just got blown out and he didn't make any shots. Eventually, the Thunder will have a game where they're competitive. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that they won't lose every game by 20 plus this season. And eventually, SGA is going to have a game where the shot falls. So he's 2 for 13 from 3-point range to start the year. Like, he's just a prime buy low guy. But again, the ownership does have me a bit concerned. I might kind of be even to the field, I think, on my SGA exposure. I'm not going to go crazy, but he's a player that I want because he does have that, 40 plus game within his range of outcomes.
Let's also add to the fray the fact that Philadelphia is a team we're probably going to have a ton of interest in no matter how it breaks down. If it's going to be Embiid or if Embiid's out, you want that game to stay remotely close. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander feels like the optimal path to make it happen. Right now looking at it, they're 8-point favorites on the road in Oklahoma City. You lose Embiid. I feel like that drops. I think it's kind of like a middle ground. I think they'd be closer to double digits if you had confirmed Embiid in. I think that line's kind of straddling the middle, but I'm there with you where, being even to the field sounds like a spot to go. I just don't want to get burned by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going for 55, which is more than in the range of outcomes. And at 6,800, that's going to bury you. Let's move our way down towards this middle ground of 5 and 6K players that we have on the slate. Kevin Porter Jr., if you want to add him into the mix, go ahead and do that as well. But Cole Anthony, Kemba Walker, RJ Barrett, Tyrese Maxey, especially if you get Embiid out. Where are you kind of finding yourself landing in that 6K range?
Yeah, I think Maxey is the logical target. He's kind of the obvious target of this group. But I find myself gravitating back to Jordan Poole a little bit. He was somebody that we were considering heavily in the first two Warriors games of the year because they were such small slates. But he really hasn't disappointed from like a usage perspective. He is, he's starting in place of Klay Thompson. And this game, the Warriors-Kings game, just screams fantasy points tonight, right? The Warriors were first in pace to start the season. The Kings are fifth in pace. They have the two highest implied team totals on the slate. Like, this game is probably our best game to target tonight. So grabbing some of these ancillary pieces like Poole, I think, does make some sense.
Yeah, best game to target for sure, just in terms of pace, in terms of scoring that we're projecting, 234.5 Vegas total. That's substantially higher than everything else. I mean, we have three games that look like 80s grinding, Celtics basketball, 211, 221, 215.5, all in that 7 p.m. Eastern time window, 4 p.m. on the West Coast. And then you get the two kind of late swap specials in the evening with Golden State, Sacramento, and Memphis and LA too, 225.5. That's the second highest on this slate. So you definitely have some legitimate late night hammers. Jordan Poole makes some sense. I don't like that he's not closing out the games. I wish he were in the closing lineup either time out. I thought the first game, it was just simply because he turned his ankle, but then he didn't end up closing against the Clippers either. I think that that's concerning, but other than that, he's going to be the guy who's out there chucking when Steph Curry's off the floor for even, a hot second. So for 10 minutes that he's not on the floor, Jordan Poole is going to be able to do whatever he wants to. And at 5,700, I think that that's a very, very viable call. Hopefully those 25 minutes can start trending up. I think they probably will, as long as Wiggins continues to be on a minutes limit. What are you doing with Marcus Smart? He's somebody that I was kind of expecting to get a little bit more ownership in the event that Jaylen Brown got ruled out, and he obviously did. You've got him along with Dennis Schroeder, that kind of are two plays that I didn't really know what to do with Schroeder, because 5,600 feels kind of like a no man's land with that tag. But Marcus Smart, do you have any interest there?
Marcus Smart's a weird guy, right? Like, he's a weird fantasy
he's the
player.
Weirdest dude to assess, because some days he wants to go out and chuck it and murder you, and other days he looks completely not entertained at all. Like, he doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah, for me, I just don't know if he has the upside of some of these other players in this price range. Like, we haven't even mentioned Jalen Suggs. Suggs had almost 38 DraftKings points in his last game, and he was 4 for 17 from the field. Like, there are some legitimate dudes out there below him that I think just could surpass him pretty easily in fantasy scoring. Like, Smart, he does get a bump for sure without Jaylen Brown, but he's not somebody that really is standing out to me on this slate.
All right, fair. I have to ask these questions. They're important in the landscape. I'm heading over to Yahoo to take a look at that position, because, again, they're the presenting sponsor of our show. I'm going to be playing over there, going to be playing on DK, going to be avoiding FanDuel just for interests of being able to serve you all. But Schroeder at $19, probably a pass. Tyrese Maxey, $17, definitely something to keep an eye on. But Steph Curry, we talk about all these studs that we have on the slate. There are not that many. Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, really kind of the three that stick out for me the most. But Steph Curry is kind of in a class of his own if you do lose Joel Embiid. But at the point guard position on Yahoo, I think that they all make a lot of sense. Let's go down to the bottom dwellers here. Is there anything on the bottom end of point guard that kind of sticks out to you?
I think the big question on DraftKings is, what do you do with DeAnthony Melton? Right? Like, he is, I love this guy's game. The Grizzlies, through 2 games, first in the league in offensive efficiency. And I think part of it is because they're giving guys like Melton more playing time this season. As much as I love Kyle Anderson, he's kind of a drain on some of the things that they want to do offensively. So now they've got Melton, they've got Desmond Bane. They look like a young, explosive type team. Melton is a fantasy point per minute type of guy. He's played at least 30 minutes in each of the first 2 games, and he's still only 4,200. He's popping in the optimal higher than anybody on DraftKings. I want to say it was around 50%, 40 some odd percent, but he's still showing up with negative leverage because he is expected to be so chalky. So I really don't know what to do with that. I my gut says to play him, but maybe we don't go as crazy as it feels like we should be. I don't know. What do you think?
So here's kind of the way that I think about this. And this is the way that I kind of think about everything when I play NBA DFS. And it's what are the late swap options available to me in the event that I have dead lineups, or that my calls from the first set of games, the first 3 games that we all have locking at the same time. If you adjust your lineups to however you're doing, you're in a great spot to be able to jam him in. And I think you can make a lot of arguments that you should be over the field on D'Anthony Melton. In the event that you take heavy stances on guys like Jason Tatum or Robert Williams or some of these other guys in the earlier session of games that, you know, you're kind of projecting to be your tournament plays and it doesn't go well, you just have to hit eject and you have to figure out where else can I go. I think you need a lot of 2v2s. If you build where you leave if you put 49,900 on DK, I think you have a viable pivot in Kent Bazemore. Not that I want to play Kent Bazemore more than Desmond Bane. I mean, they are just projected miles and miles apart. D'Anthony Melton then I'm looking at that late swap option. Yeah, but D'Anthony Melton sitting there, you can obviously go to Desmond Bane if you're playing him in the utility spot, 4,200 for him there. So there are some swaps I think available to be able to reduce some of the ownership or to kind of get away from it. But he is such a misprice. I mean, it's kind of like what we've had with Duarte on a couple of these slates where it doesn't make any sense. Jalen Suggs didn't make any sense, especially when he ended up starting through the back door there. And then obviously got there in a meaningful way against the Knicks there, 32 minutes, 30.2% usage. I love that call for you as well. So for me, I'm looking at it as the late swap ability that I have to him. Does any of that make sense? Do you agree with anything I'm saying, or are you kind of looking at it differently? Okay.
No, that does make a lot of sense, because if, the worry is that he's going to be the chalk, but if you have a dead lineup, you can kind of just switch off of him anyway. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then one thing that also kind of came out is Andre Iguodala is out. I think in the utility spot, Otto Porter, if he were to ever get minutes, 12 and 18 minutes. Otto Porter.
Don't talk to me about Otto Porter now.
Oh, really? Is that your boy?
I recommended him on the last show the first show that I did with Greg.
That's
he got
not
18
a brag.
minutes. I felt like that was kind of a win. I felt like that was a little bit of a win for me.
Yeah, I think he's going to fit in more and more as the season goes on. I know Greg was really, really high on him coming into the season. Talking on a different show, but Otto Porter definitely is somebody that we know has a massive ceiling if he gets to 25 minutes, and he can be a spark plug off the bench for this Golden State team. I think there's some extra run possibly from Andre Iguodala. So even having his option at 3,900, I feel like that's somebody that I'm willing to click off of, in absolutely dead lineups, or if there's somebody ahead of me and I need to make a pivot and I'm like, you know what, I'm all right losing the opportunity to make a good chunk of change in order to try to bank, that could be somebody to kind of rely on. But anything else at point guard for you?
I think that's about it at point guard. I mean, again, Westbrook, I think, is a nice tournament option. But we've hit on all the guys that are like popping to me.
All right. We just talked about Steph Curry, and we have a promotion going where you just use his last name. That's Curry at checkout for 50% off of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's your first week that you get 50% off of, including everything behind the paywall. That's projections. That's the boom bust tool that we are going to be referring to throughout the season, because it is one of the sharpest, most well put together tools in the entire industry. It allows for you to make informed decisions based on salary expectations, based on ownership, based on everything that matters, optimal appearance rate. I'm telling you, get in on this promotion now, $15. So for exactly the entry fee of one lineup in that $10 on DK, you have the opportunity to have everything we offer behind the paywall for a week. Awesemo Plus Platinum, that also is NFL. So if you want to be playing NFL Sunday next Sunday, as we come in for next week, use this promotion now and have access to week 8 throughout the entire week. Check out all of our NFL tools. If you're playing World Series Showdown, yay, good times. I hate both those two teams, probably won't now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe I will, I'm not sure. But take advantage of this promotion now. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. All right, we got shooting guard. We're going to the top end there. Also, thank you so much. We got Awesemo, producer Mike behind the glass. Thank you so much, my dude. Great to have you along producing. Enjoy your company. You're a nice guy. Let's go to shooting guard on DraftKings, where you're basically punting by default. There's nobody to pay up for with no Jaylen Brown and Dylan Brooks obviously out still here. No Klay Thompson. Evan Fournier, first guy up on the list here. It's back-to-back revenge spots for Evan Fournier. I don't really know how you factor in revenge, but sorry, Orlando, for letting me go and giving me an opportunity to play on a good Boston team and then make a boatload of money and live in New York. I don't know how you could have revenge for such things, but Evan Fournier, 6,400, Buddy Hield, 6,300, Tyrese Halliburton, Marcus Smart. The main reason I'm getting to Marcus Smart is purely because I don't really know what else I want to be doing on the top end of shooting guard. And D'Anthony Melton is super chalk, and we already talked about him. I'll probably have him in some utilities later on, but talk to me about shooting guard.
I kind of like Halliburton. I think if I'm looking up at these top price guys,
you are my favorite.
Well, thank you so much. Halliburton just does a little bit of everything. I already mentioned that I think this is a great matchup to target. He's coming off a pretty good performance in his last outing. He saw 35 minutes. The usage, not great, but he made up for it because he's just a stud and he can do everything on the basketball court. So he's got a nice, among these guys, he's got the best leverage score in our boom bust tool on DraftKings. So I think he's sort of where I'm targeting if I'm paying up at the position, but you certainly don't need to, pay up for one of these 6K guys if you don't want to.
Don't need to pay up for the laser. God,
why make billions when we could make millions?
Oh man, we're entertaining ourselves, if not other people. But yeah, no, Tyrese Halliburton, let's party. Absolutely here for that call. Marcus Smart, I'm going to have a little bit of obviously on this top end, kind of talked about him. Andrew Wiggins, I don't think the minutes are going to trend up as much for him going forward, but 26 to 31, that's a plus. I'll take it. If you can get 33, 34, perhaps in a game that this is projected to stay close. So we're looking at only a 3-point spread. Sacramento's at home. Harrison Barnes is playing out of his a-hole. So maybe this game does stay a little bit closer. And Halliburton, Hield, all these guys, they're overpriced for, all of them being active and healthy, but they all carry ceilings. That doesn't take away from their ceilings, I don't think. So definitely there for them. Jordan Poole, a guy that you kind of alluded to. But my guy, I'm going to be playing a lot of on this slate, and I just want to hear your opinions of him. Jalen Green. How do I get away from playing Jalen Green? Because I believe in this dude just being a volume scorer going forward. 16.3%. Jalen Suggs also at that exact same number. Give me both of the rookies on this slate.
Yeah, and Suggs, I think Suggs on DraftKings at least is not expected to carry as much ownership. We have Green projected for more, which is interesting to me. Green's looked somewhat the part, right? He's got some of the highlight plays, but the shooting efficiency hasn't really been there. He's 2 for 11 from 3 to start the year. The usage isn't as high as I might have would have guessed it would have been at the start of the year. So it's an interesting buy low spot, I guess. I still much prefer Suggs given what we're seeing on the projected ownership side. I think that the matchup not ideal against the Knicks, like the Knicks were definitely a grinded out type of team last year, but Suggs just with the usage, with the peripheral stats, right? Like I mentioned, he had a 38 DraftKings point game while shooting less than 25% from the field. That obviously gives him pretty significant upside when his shot's falling. So for me, Suggs is the play out of those two rookies, but I can understand why you'd like Green.
47-yard touchdown pass to Zach Ertz. Oh my God, as if Eagles fans didn't have a bad enough day. Oh, it's beautiful. It's not beautiful. I apologize. I know we have like 48 Eagles fans on staff, so probably don't want to go too far with that one. But yeah, Melton, I'm right there with you, playing both of the rookies here. I see nothing, and I do mean nothing, that I am remotely interested in playing underneath 4K on DraftKings. So should we just move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
That sounds awesome. We're going to save ourselves some time and be able to get to some questions once we get through all these positions. Let's go to small forward on Yahoo. I want to start over there. Again, they're our presenting sponsor. We'll get to them in a second, but LeBron James sitting up there at $42. I will say LeBron James looks a little bit more sprightly coming off of not having to play a playoffs, basically, after getting ran out of town by the Suns. Looks like he had a nice offseason. Space Jam 2 did not have a nice offseason, but he did. Harrison Barnes, $27. RJ Barrett, $24. Kyle Anderson, I never get him right, but also I haven't played him either time this season, so I guess I can't say that anymore. That's more of a 2020 thing for me. But talk to me about the top end of small forward.
Yeah, kind of gross.
Good start is
Like LeBron's LeBron, right? We know he can go off in any particular game, but with the addition of Westbrook, like I think that we have to kind of temper our expectations a bit here, at least at the start of the year. Harrison Barnes has been playing great, but he's Harrison Barnes. We know what Harrison Barnes is.
Oh, man. Did you know?
Man,
so
I don't
Harrison
like
Barnes,
any of these guys.
Harrison Barnes, I played pickup basketball with in Ames, Iowa. I went to Iowa State and played golf there. And Harrison Barnes and Doug McDermott were on the same high school team when I was in college in Ames High School, and they would come and just murder the rec. Like just murder the rec as like 15, 16-year-old kids. It was the dumbest thing ever. Continue. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's completely fair because I'm really struggling here at small forward. I might just go all the way down. Can I just punt and take Desmond Bane at $10?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
Right.
I mean,
I'm taking Desmond Bane at the minimum. The minutes have been there. The usage has been there. Again, like I really like kind of the direction that Memphis has gone in. And I know part of that is just Dylan Brooks being out of the lineup, but him and Melton over, like the Kyle Andersons of the world, I think is just going to make this team a lot more fun this year.
I agree. And for me, the main interest I have, I'll take Jason Tatum and I'll take LeBron James. I think, especially if you don't have Embiid. We're still waiting on that news. It's a gigantic piece of this slate. We're 32 minutes away from lock. If you see that, go ahead and interrupt me at any point in time so we can get building and get everything fixed for everybody ASAP. Because again, we have 3 games locking here. I have 2 CSVs. I still do want to make some tweaks just to make sure that I don't get too much because I'm sure I'm just going to get so much. I already said I'm going to lock Steph Curry, but Jason Tatum, LeBron James, kind of figuring out what to do with that duo as more of a different spend up here. Russ Westbrook, Anthony Davis. I think we got to look at all the options from the Lakers just because of the raw fantasy points you're able to guarantee there. But I'm right there with you. I mean, give me Desmond Bane, just fine getting to that piece as well. You talk about D'Anthony Melton, Desmond Bane also benefiting wildly here. As in the absence of Dylan Brooks. But I also want to give a special shout out just because he's down here. Josh Richardson going to be playing the backup role here as well. Only played 21 minutes here, but now we also got another interesting piece, and I didn't even really know what to do with it when it first dropped, but who is the guy that just got ruled out as well from the Celtics? Romeo Langford. Yeah, so that's 16 minutes, 23 and 16 minutes. He played the first 2, 18 minutes. I didn't really know what to do with it. And I just kind of found myself giving more and more minutes to Josh Richardson in my sheet. What do you think about him as a contrarian option?
Oh, the Boom Bust Tool loves him on DraftKings. A leverage of 26.2. They have him in the optimal nearly 40% of the time.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to argue with that, right? Like if Alex loves Josh Richardson, I love Josh Richardson. Okay. We're playing Josh Richardson tonight as a contrarian play. Even without the minutes, the production has been there, right? He's been about 1 fantasy point per minute through his first 2 games. So if we figure he's going to get a bump in playing time with some of these injuries, then he becomes very appealing.
All right. We got 1.2K people. That's 1,200 people, math in my head, that are watching the show. Please hit that like button. We got to get those likes up. We're talking NBA here, coming off of an NFL slate. Some people want to forget, some want to remember. It depends which team you're cheering for. I'm usually just cheering for my fantasy teams, especially on weeks that the Vikings aren't appearing. Thank God, it's so relaxing not having a Sunday with the Vikings on it. But looking to tonight as well, after us, we're going to have EMAC. We're going to have a couple of the guys. I'll double check the sheet, but I know that that's going on at 7:30, covering the Showdown slate. So stick around for that coming up an hour from now. Wanted to bring that up. Special shout out. Anything else from the small forward position for you, Mr. LaMarca?
You mentioned Porter. I think he's interesting. The other Porter on Houston also interests me. He's 6K on FanDuel. That feels wildly cheap for him. I'll have some exposure there for sure. And then of course, Tobias is a small forward / power forward on FanDuel. I think Tobias on FanDuel, you probably want to play him in that small forward spot just because you have some more options at power forward that you can target. I think again, I'm kind of fading that top tier, the LeBron guys for the most part, but there are some other interesting players in that next tier down.
Agreed. Franz Wagner, perhaps 4,500. He's actually coming with more ownership than I was expecting. I played him at the min, like a ridiculous amount that first full slate, but I digress. We just got Gary Harris ruled out. So at least now he makes more sense at that number. Jalen Suggs, though, all systems go. Just wanted to double check and make sure Gary Harris got ruled out before pulling the trigger there. I will be pulling the trigger there quite a bit, especially if he stays underneath 10%. That would be exquisite. But that's the small forward position before we jump on over to the power forward position. And again, interrupt me immediately if we get that Embiid news so we can get, Embiid in. Somebody just said Embiid in. I don't have that confirmed. Do I?
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Embiid in. All right. They're starting Maxey, Curry, Green, Harris, Embiid. So we will get to the reactions to that here. But first, let's talk Yahoo. Let's set that all up for them. Yahoo Fantasy Sports and us, we've partnered. We are having a lot of fun. It's been a great partnership so far. And right now, you can jump in on the fun by creating a new account. If you're not yet a member, depositing $10 or more, playing any paid contest period. They have so many negative management fee. So rake is the other word for that. Contest that they're offering where they're putting money in your pockets to play. Sign up for any of those, and you will get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, completely free, every single sport behind the paywall. That offer is not going to last forever, so you need to utilize it now. They'll send you an email with a coupon. You're going to send it to support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you all set up that way. But I'm telling you, there will not be a better offer to jump in on. The Curry promotion is great, but this one specifically, go set up that account at Yahoo and get winning. Check out every single sport behind the paywall, NBA, NHL. We have the NHL guys that are just absolutely crushing every single day. And then, of course, the NBA, which is my baby. Check it out. Appreciate Yahoo. And thank you so much for being the sponsor of so many of the shows that I get to be a part of. I'm so lucky to be able to work with them. We'll continue to refer to their site. And in fact, we'll refer to it as we start at power forward here. We got Jason Tatum, $45. Anthony Davis, $45. Julius Randle. I mean, this is the one beatdown that we're kind of expecting, but it's still only at 10.5. And Julius Randle does everything for this basketball team, kind of picking up where he left off last season. Looks a lot better when he's not playing the Atlanta Hawks in a playoff series that just kind of clamped down on him. But what are you seeing at the top end of power forward?
Well, first, I never expect the Knicks to beat down anybody. All right. I know they're favored by 12, but it wouldn't shock me if that game's a little closer than people think. Mm-hmm. Jason Tatum obviously becomes one of the priority targets on this slate without Jaylen Brown. He's kind of the guy now, right? They don't have Kemba anymore. And they did bring in like Dennis Schroeder in the offseason, but it's Tatum's team, right? He is going to have to be sort of the guy that carries the usage while this team is shorthanded. And I expect him to do that. He's kind of proven that he's one of the best players in the league at this point. Tobias, even with Embiid in, maybe he catches too much ownership now with Embiid in, but I do think that the price tag on him is pretty good here on Yahoo. He's 33 compared to, like 42 for LeBron and 42 for Julius Randle. I think I would take the discount with Tobias Harris, given that they're all projected pretty similarly. So I think that's sort of how I'm approaching the top at Yahoo.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm just looking at the top on Yahoo as well. For me, Tobias Harris just becomes a little less interesting. He's still an advantageous price tag, $33. I mean, he's projecting 40 plus, I think, just around the industry for everything we've got. Let me double check on DK. We've got him at 40.82. I mean, that's with Embiid already projected in, so we don't have to change anything on our end for that. So Tobias Harris is still a good play. Getting up to that next top tier, Jason Tatum, makes a lot of sense. I know you said you were going to be a little bit lighter on some of those guys at the small forward position, with him included in that. I like getting to Tatum, I think, on this slate. That makes some sense on somebody that I want to pay up for. But Steph Curry, I'm going to be overweight too. And that makes it kind of difficult to get overweight to everything else. And Joel Embiid just became, I believe, the best tournament play on the slate amongst any of the studs. So curious to see where I'm going to land here in that last run of numbers. But kind of working our way down the rest of the position. Harrison Barnes, who's been out of control. No, thank you at 7,300. Draymond Green, the minutes are trending up for him. Nice to see 34 last time out. Jaren Jackson Jr., who I'm a mark for. I think a lot of people in the DFS industry are a mark for. And then Al Horford's 5,900. And oh my God, I mean, he went from having zero ownership, zero roster ability. He's played 24 and 25 minutes, and now everybody's chomping at the bit to fire him up. But you have no Jaylen Brown out there. I guess I understand it. We have him projected out pretty darn well, just point per dollar, I suppose. So who's kind of intriguing you in that mid-range of power forward?
You gotta love Big Al, man. He's free. He's back home. He's back in Boston. He escaped the depths of Oklahoma City and whatever's going on there. And he's free and he's playing like a man who is happy. No, in all seriousness, it's just,
how do I factor that into my model? How do I factor in happiness?
Slider?
I don't have the happiness. Oh God. Okay. I'll start working on that tonight. Continue.
No, in all seriousness, just the minutes are going to be there, right? They don't have a ton of depth at forward, especially now that they're not going to have Jaylen Brown and Romeo Langford. Like the path to 25, 30 minutes seems like it's there. And he's been around 1.25 DraftKings points per minute to start the year. So looks good to me. Our boom bust tool loves him tonight. I think he's a smash.
God, I'm so biased against this dude. How is Al Horford still a thing? How is this happening to me?
You're an ageist.
I might be, honestly. If there was a slider I needed to create, it's just an age model. I need to quit being biased against dudes who are old and dusty and Oklahoma City doesn't even want. But Al Horford, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, he's really sticking out for us. So hard to neglect that. I'm actually going to give him a bump here and just add him to the portfolio. 20%. We're going to put a cap. I'm going to put a cap on him because God forbid he ends up sinking my day. Moving our way down, we've got Darius Baisley's actually producing some kind of ownership. That makes absolutely no sense to me. The next guy really of note is Franz Wagner. Now for Orlando, you get Gary Harris out of the mix. Do we have that Orlando starting lineup? Yeah, here it is. Anthony, Suggs, Wagner, Carter, Bamba. I like seeing that he's kind of in that starting mix. I think I'm going to probably be overweight to him for sure. Does anybody kind of stick out for you in this mid-range?
Yeah, I wrote up Wagner in my my big board piece today. He's popping as a better value over on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but definitely somebody that we can use. He's had two different types of games, right? The first game, the minutes weren't necessarily what we would have expected, but he was pretty productive on a per minute basis. And then he saw a nice bump in playing time in his second game and just didn't make any shots. So I kind of like Wagner. We've seen the per minute production from him. Now we just need him to kind of do it again, right? He had a higher usage rate in his last game and less fantasy points per minute, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think Wagner's a fine play.
The only guy who's getting any kind of love down here. I mean, I got to assume that number is going to change on Paul Reed. He's 12.5%. I'm just taking him out of my pool. I have no interest, I don't think. Is there any reason to be playing a flat 3K Paul Reed on this slate?
No, I can't justify that.
I don't think I can either. I just wanted to double check with you, the master, because I'm simply an apprentice on this show today. I think that's kind of all that I really have at the power forward position. You can take some random shots. Daniel Tice is starting there for Houston, but those minutes have been so low and ridiculous. He's going to get one game, though, where he goes out for 25 minutes. I mean, these have both been blowouts, once, in the negative way against Minnesota, once in the positive way against OKC at 4,400. God, I mean, if he plays 25, 26 minutes, we saw some crazy amount of upside from him, in limited amount of time with Boston. Is there any kind of Daniel Tice interest I can talk you into?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, that was a fun conversation. We're going to move it along then. I'm going to go F myself. Joel Embiid, 10-2 on DK, rounding out the position here on the top end. We got news that he's in. I know you've kind of been tweaking stuff over on your side of the street, just like I have been, to kind of account for it. Again, I have the CSV. I was anticipating that he was going to be ruled out for the most part, but obviously we got that news that he is in. I'm kind of just going back and double checking everything here. I'm going to definitely be overweight if it's 16.2%. I don't know what that number is going to look like. I think some people might be clicking on that box score, seeing 26 and 30 minutes, not a ton of minutes to be getting out of a guy that you're paying 10-2 for, but I'm going to look at that with a grain of salt because the guy is averaging nearly 2 fantasy points per minute. That projects out nicely in the event he plays 30 minutes, and there's obviously a ceiling for more. Talk to me about Embiid first.
Yeah, just one of the best per minute players in basketball, and he has been since he stepped on an NBA court. Now playing without Ben Simmons. You mentioned the production without Simmons last year, over 1.8 DraftKings points per minute. Takes on a Thunder team that is not imposing at all. Like if we knew that Embiid was going to play 35 minutes, his ownership would be like 60%, especially on FanDuel at sub 10K. But because there's some uncertainty with his role, he's got the injury, he's been playing limited minutes, it's going to drive that ownership down, which makes him just the nut DFS, the nut tournament play tonight. He's too good. He's too good to ever be priced below 10K. And I'm going to take advantage.
Yep. As am I. I'm going to be clicking on him quite a bit. I find no way to not be over the field. If you play tournaments and if you like guys who are lower owned than they should be, you should like the fact that this Embiid news came out at, 330, 335. I wish it came out at 350 actually secretly, but then I always kind of run the risk of being on this show and having it. Yeah, exactly. West Coast and the best coast. But if you're looking at it like 5 minutes before, I start to get a little bit antsy. And you've never done a show with me, but I can get a little bit agitated with the old Clippers and the good old 76ers from time to time. Hashtag Paul George, hashtag sadness. But let's go down the rest of the center position. Joel Embiid, just play him. I feel really good about it. No concerns. And you have no Andre Drummond. Should probably bring that up too. Their backup is that second round dude who's it's just going to be a little bit easier to see a minute ceiling here for him. Let's move our way down though. Anthony Davis. We got Christian Wood coming off of a massive game, 61 fantasy points over on DK against OKC. I really like him, but I don't love the price tag. Looking at the boom bust tool, I believe he was one of the guys that I saw that is got a little bit of positive leverage at the center position, which, again, if I'm going to be playing a lot of Embiid, it's going to be hard to get to Wood, but maybe some pairings of each of them.
Well,
and then, go ahead.
You can play Wood at power forward on FanDuel.
Oh, well, I have to play on FanDuel then today.
Or there's a utility spot on DraftKings.
Thank you so much for your amazing intellect. I see, now we're disagreeing. It was off to such a good start. I knew we had to go. Now I'm putting the slider to the left on the liking you meter. But now we have, we've got
even after I dropped that gem about the happiness meter. Come on now.
I know, but I'm just saying, moving down. Mo Bamba, Robert Williams, 35.5. I mean, that's just ridiculous. 6,100 that we have for Robert Williams as well. Talk to me about the rest of that mid-range of center.
Yeah, I am a big fan of Christian Wood. The matchup isn't great against the Celtics, right? You've got Robert Williams, who is a pretty good rim protector there, but Wood is he's underpriced at 8,100 on FanDuel. We have him showing up in the optimal about 24% of the time, and we have him projected for about 25% ownership. So the field seems like they're going to be playing him at the correct rate, which doesn't mean there's a ton of value, unfortunately. But I do love Wood, the player, so I will probably be overweight on the field. Robert Williams is popping as like the dude though on FanDuel, which is odd, and this is probably why Joel Embiid might be a smidge under-owned tonight. And it's just because Robert Williams is expected to catch just so much ownership, and he's still popping as a good leverage play on FanDuel. Hey,
Matt LaMarca, right? Did you know there's a utility spot on DraftKings? Did you know that you could play him at power forward on FanDuel?
Very fair point. But yeah, I want as many of these big dudes in my lineup as possible, right? Like, I think you want to build your lineup around Steph and then the big dudes. That's
Matt LaMarca likes big dudes. He likes the Wood. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm joining you. Christian Wood, clicking in. I'm adding some more. I'm just going to fix this. Again, this is why I like being on shows, is being able to talk through some things. And the more I'm looking at Christian Wood, I mean, he definitely projects out well, 10%. I'm going to rerun our ownership here, just double check, see if anything kind of updated to account for this Embiid news. And of course, it always takes me out of Fantasy Cruncher because that's the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah, I like Robert Williams a lot. I mean, what you want to talk about one of the best fantasy point per minute type players on the entire planet. I mean, Robert Williams 1.25. I think he's only going to be progressing up, but I suppose Al Horford being alongside him maybe cuts into the rebounding rate a little bit. Time shall tell. But as it stands, we just know that he can get a lot done in a limited amount of time. And now he's getting time. So I think he's just way underpriced for that role. And no Jaylen Brown, of course. But anything else for you there kind of in that mid-range? We got Bazley. We've got Adams at 5K against the Lakers. I mean, they like to play big. They have Anthony Davis out there. He's been very surprisingly good. A rebound away from a double-double. I had a ton of him at that low number of 4,600 last time out against the Clippers. And they definitely utilized him only for 27 minutes, and he still almost smashed a little bit. If he gets that extra rebound, that's 44, 45 fantasy points. But do you have any interest in him or anybody else in this mid-range?
Can I interest you in some Richaun Holmes?
Yes, you may, because he's a monster.
Yeah. And some of the box score chasers, right? They might see 29 DraftKings points in his last game against the Jazz, but he did that in less than 18 minutes because he was dealing with foul trouble. He ended up fouling out. His first game that year, he went for over 45, and he did that in 29 minutes. Mm-hmm. So getting this guy at sub 6K against a Warriors team that doesn't have any big men, he could do some stuff tonight. I think he's a very nice play. He's got some positive leverage in the boom bust tool, showing up not a huge optimal rate, but still less than what the field is expected to play him at.
I love that play. Richaun Holmes, you can always talk me into playing Richaun Holmes. Talk about how difficult it is to get to a lot of these Kings the way that I want to in such a good game environment. But that's kind of why you want to play them in tournaments. You want to get to some of these guys. You know, Harrison Barnes, just probably, as much as I like him, as much as he's treated me well over the years, just as a low-owned tournament option, this salary is a little bit out of control, especially on DK, and I find it tough to get to. Richaun Holmes is definitely a great place to land, projects out great for us under 10%. He's like the epitome of you should play him in tournaments. I feel the same way. Adams under 15%. 5K is still too low for what I think that role will be. Now playing a Lakers team, he'll have a lot of Dwight Howard, have a lot of Anthony Davis on the floor. I think I'm looking forward to possibly getting that double-double out of him there. But then, again, once you get underneath 5K, it falls off a cliff. Other than Derek Favors, who is in the starting lineup for OKC, and I'm curious if you have any of him whatsoever, I don't see anything under 5K.
Favors just, he doesn't give me the ceiling that I'm really looking for. I don't see the path to like 25, 30 DraftKings points, even as a starter, right? Like he started in his last game and he played 10 minutes. So I'm kind of crossing him off. I think if I'm playing a sub 5K guy, I might go with Bielitsa. And he's overpriced. There's no doubt about that. I wish he wasn't 4,700, I believe he's priced at. But we talked about how the Iguodala injury could benefit Otto Porter, but it could also benefit Bielitsa. Bielitsa got the nod over Porter on opening night. He was hot from 3-point range, and the team just kind of let him play. He ended up finishing with 38.25 in about 26 minutes. Like Bielitsa is, we talked about Porter's fantasy points per minute. Bielitsa is also a pretty good fantasy points per minute type of dude. So I may have a sprinkle of him. We're projecting him for like 1% ownership. I wouldn't go crazy, but I may have a touch of him.
May have a touch of him too. I'm kind of adding one share just for you. There we are. Cool. So if that one hits, just expect a Venmo payment. That'll be a
check.
Great...
I love it.
Oh, dude, you're welcome. Enjoy some Chipotle on me. Let's just kind of talk about the slate. We've got 10 minutes, kind of rounded out the entire center position. What are your thoughts about the slate as we've kind of talked through it a little bit? Is there anything that's sticking out for you? Anything that you're seeing in your numbers that's changed for the Embiid news? Anybody that you're getting to that you find surprising?
Yeah, the Embiid ownership keeps trickling up. We got him up to about 30 some odd % on FanDuel in our last run. He's now at 31-1, still too low. We have him at nearly 50% optimal. So I still am just smashing in Embiid. I'm going to have plenty of Embiid Curry stacks. And then, sort of just hunting for value with some of these other guys, like with Melton at 4,200 on DraftKings, that kind of is a cheat code to just sort of build out your lineup however you want. Same goes for Desmond Bane at 4,200. Like there's value out there. So I think this is a stars and scrubs type of night to go along with some of those like mid-range plays we were talking about earlier, maybe a little bit of Tyrese Maxey, something like that. But I think it's a night where you want to pair up Embiid and Curry.
Yep, I'm doing a ton of that, and I'm probably going to do more of it as we're getting closer to lock here. I think Awesemo brings up a great point there. Mikey behind the glass, doing a great job here today. Just brand new, out of the gate, put them in the fire. We've got 1.1K people still watching, 1.2K. Hit that like button for us. That goes a long, long way. Would be very appreciative if you could do such things for us as we jump to the questions portion. If you have any questions for stuff as we get closer to lock here, we're just kind of finishing up our lineups. Just fire those in the chat. And of course, I'm going to jump over to the premium Discord. We shall start over there. So if you anything, I don't know what that was, but if you have anything that you would like us to address right out of the gate, happy to go to it. He said, thoughts on Rob Williams. We just covered that one, I think. S.A. Johnson, 98. Let's see if there's anything else here. With Embiid, is Reed still playable? I think we talked through that one as well. Probably not for me.
Yeah, agreed. No interest in Reed with Embiid.
Yep, can't do it anymore. I'm just curious, how much Jalen Suggs are you getting into?
A decent bit. I think I'm at about 35% at the moment. Again, like he's underpriced with the usage that he has displayed. This Magic team has nobody. They're really bad. They are really bad. And Suggs is going to have a lot of opportunities to just figure stuff out on the court, because what else are they going to do? So he was 7 for 31 to start the year from the field. Terrible shooting numbers. I would expect some improvement. I don't know if he's necessarily going to become a dead eye all of a sudden, but the usage, the peripheral stats, like it's all there. We just need him to make a couple of shots, and it's going to happen eventually.
All right, we've got a couple more. Devin asks, Fox, Halliburton, and Mitchell are showing up a lot for me. Does Mitchell cut into either of their minutes?
Interesting question. I mean, Davion Mitchell, he did play 31 minutes in their last game. He played about 25 on opening night. He's not somebody that I have really considered a lot tonight. I just don't know. Again, he's not somebody that I see a ton of upside with.
Mm-hmm. But that's kind of my concern too, is Davion Mitchell. I get why you're getting to him. I mean, it's kind of a price point play. I mean, depending on what site you're on, Davion Mitchell's under 4K, so 3,900 on DK. And anytime you're able to get somebody who's projecting for 25 plus minutes under 4K, it seems enticing. But we have such good value in a couple of these spots just for a little bit more in Suggs and Green, and some of these other guys I feel way better about. But I think price is probably the biggest reason you could look his direction, but no upside really to speak of, I don't think.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. So last spot in cash for S.A. Johnson, 98. I'm basing this off of DK because I think the pricing is identical for these guys. Steven Adams, Suggs, or Jalen Green.
So for me, it's definitely Suggs over Green. The question is, do you feel a little bit better about Adams than Suggs? And I do think Adams might be safer, like just he's not as dependent on his scoring. He's played pretty well to start the year. So I'm going to go Adams 1, Suggs 2, Jalen Green 3.
I would agree. I think that makes sense, but I have a ton of Jalen Green because these are tournaments that I am playing. So take that with a grain of salt. It always kind of depends what game you're playing, what your contest size is, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But best of luck to you tonight. Maxey or Suggs in cash on Yahoo. So Maxey, let's find that number for him. We've got Maxey is $17 and Suggs is $17. So in a pick'em, are you still taking Suggs over Maxey?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I think I would take Maxey in cash just because I think Maxey's going to be roster more.
It's a safer play. It's definitely his floor is higher. I'm just in love with Suggs, guys. I'm sure you can tell by now that I am.
You don't say.
I really think that this guy has like 50-point upside tonight. So
what?
Even against the Knicks, who are terrible.
I'll take the under.
who are a terrible matchup.
I'll take the under, but
the
my
under
God,
on 50.
I will. I know I'm good at this. So there you go. Jalen Suggs. Why am I getting Dort? I don't know why you're getting Dort. I don't want Dort. Dort is the guy though on slates when you don't have him and he's like 1% owned, he'll put up 50. So have fun with that. Tate or Wendell Carter. No, everybody put a side in so that we can tell you, because it's going to wildly differ. I have my opinions on certain players. Do I want to play Tate over Wendell Carter? No, I do not. But Tate, I think, is in the better spot. I just got to know the site so we can talk pricing on it. Mo Bamba or Rashawn Holmes for DK.
Ooh, cash games, Mo Bamba. Tournaments, Rashawn Holmes.
Those are the right answers. You win a prize. Why do I have Damian Lee popping up in my... No. We got to fix that. Goodbye to him there. I seem quite a bit high tonight on Robinson. What do you think about him? Anyone grabbing some of him up top? We didn't talk about Mitchell Robinson. What are your thoughts on him anywhere, any site?
Yeah,
that's the right answer. Also the right answer there. Let's see. Franz Wagner. I like Franz Wagner. Maybe my guy instead of Suggs is just Franz Wagner because he treated me well opening night. Melton or Pool FD Cash?
Melton.
That is correct. Spanish Armada, 1652.
54. 57.
God, just give me the answer. Taj is also back. James Conner touchdown run because, of course. Let's see. 5 minutes. Get your lineups in. We have 2 minutes is what we got now. Thank you, Loco, for keeping everybody accountable, keeping everybody there. Thoughts on Schroeder? I just think he's too expensive across the industry.
Yeah. I'm maybe on DraftKings at 5,600. No, I changed my mind. No, sorry. No Dennis Schroeder.
You liar. You absolute liar. Let's see. Anything else here? Danny Green ownership ? I have 0%. I can tell you that without even looking. I have a share
it's more
of
than
Matisse.
0. It's too much.
Yeah, I have 40 lineups. I have one Matisse Thybulle. I don't even know what I'm doing with that. I'm probably going to take that out while we're talking. That might be my very last move that I make here. Why do I have Matisse Thybulle? Again, now I'm bad at this. I'm bipolar. I don't know what to do with my hands. Let's see. Niang, I would rather play him. Let's see. I think that's going to kind of be it. Do you have all your lineups in? I'll give you a second.
I'm ready, baby.
Oh, you're ready. Man, what a professional. I am the dunce cap wearer of the duo here today. There. Now I have everything in. That was easy enough. Thank you so much to everybody for being here. We have 1K people still hanging out here. Hit that like button on the way out as we kind of round this entire thing up. We have Mr. LaMarca over there, Matt LaMarca on the Twitter sphere. Go follow him over there. He's doing a great job kind of covering everything for you on the slate. Really enjoyed our first show together. A lot of movie quotes. That's usually a quick way to my heart, is this being able to quote 90s and early 2000s movies. But we are at lock. My guy, any final words for the people on the way out?
Best of luck. Enjoy whatever sports you choose to indulge in tonight, be it the association, be it a little Sunday night football. And let's go Astros, huh? I'm going to be the first person to go out on the record and say, let's go Astros.
Oh my God. It better be monetarily involved or we can't be friends. But that's it for us. That's the show. Sunday night showdown coming up. In half an hour, in 15 minutes, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. EMAC, Nick, Terry, taking you up to lock of the Sunday night game. He's Matt LaMarca. He's good people. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm average-ish. We'll see you later.